Good morning, everybody. Today we are here with a very awesome special guest. Okay, so obviously you've got the lovely Ashley, and hi, I'm AJ, and Suzanne is here. She is I'm going to call you our resident expert
Okay.
in abundant love because it's a lifestyle that works very well for you, and
hmm
you have recently come out to your community,
Right.
right? And your family and everybody, and you have this amazing family. And since the day I met you, I absolutely loved you, and I can see how this lifestyle will work for you, even though it's not perfect and doesn't work for everybody. So we are going to talk a little bit about that today. Yay!
Yay.
Exciting. I get a little bit more excited about some things than I do others, and this is one of them. So, hi, Ashley. How are you, darling?
It's been a day.
It's been a day. Yes, it has. So, Ashley told me this morning, she says, it's been a rough morning, and we can talk about that at another time. Today is not the day for that, but she is 100% authentic, and she is here. So, that is good. And Suzanne just got out of a meeting. So,
Yes.
so you've had a busy morning as well.
Yeah.
And okay, here we go. So, Suzanne, why don't
Yes.
you go ahead and give us the definition um, of polyamory, and then we'll kind of get into talking more about it.
I feel like polyamory is the ability to carry on an intimate relationship with more than one person at a time with the consent of all involved.
Love it. Does it have to be a sexual relationship with everybody?
No. It is more of a feeling, an emotional relationship. There's a very big difference between having a sexually open relationship versus a polyamorous emotional relationship with more than one person.
Absolutely. Ashley, it looks like you had something to say to that. No,
No,
you were just thinking. Okay. Um, I love that you said that, Suzanne, because I think a lot of people confuse or maybe try to integrate open relationship with polyamory and cheating. And
Yes.
there's a huge difference between those three things, right?
Yes. And there can still be cheating in a polyamorous relationship. If rules are broken or you go outside of the parameters that you have set with your partners, that is still considered cheating. But on the traditional level, polyamory is not cheating because there is the consent of all of the people that are involved in the relationship.
well, why
Absolutely.
don't if you're willing to, why don't you share what type of relationship you are in?
Yeah, so currently I am married to a male, and we have a female fiance. Of course, when we are married, it will not be legally recognized in any state in the United States. It is more of a commitment based on the three of us. And our girlfriend is actually pregnant by another partner whom she's no longer in a relationship with, and we will be raising the baby together, the three of us.
Oh, this is cute.
I love it. I have tears in my eyes just because I know, just because I know how awesome you guys are as a family and welcoming, and how loved your partners are, um, and how capable you and your husband are of loving her 100% as well as this baby. It just
We're very excited. It was definitely a surprise, but we are definitely excited. So thank you.
yeah, it's exciting. Um, I just, guys, I just have to tell you, Suzanne and her husband are I honestly feel like people who, if you were in a room with them, you would understand polyamory. Just watching them interact with each other, and I know that they've had arguments and they've had their problems, and and everybody does. But communication, I mean, these two know how to communicate. You know,
And
like that's
it's
huge.
it's weird because I've been telling people, we're only recently, I guess, out to our family and our community, and we're not completely out to everyone, obviously, because we live in a very, very small southern town. But once we became pregnant, we felt that was time to come out. But what I've been explaining to people is that our current fiance saved our marriage. We, over the summer, my husband and I had become very distant, and we were internalizing a lot of things we were not communicating. And our role for our relationships with other people has always been to communicate when we are with someone else. And once we got into this new relationship, our communication levels increased so much. I text my husband more than I have in years. I talk to him on the phone more. We have talked about things that have bothered us for years that we never talked about in our relationship. And we communicate about everything, not just, hey, what are the kids doing, but it's, hey, what's happening at work? I need you to help me more with the chores. I need you to do this more sexually. And that communication has increased, and this relationship saved our marriage.
I have a quick question to kind of feed off of that.
Mhm.
Just because I know that people that are going to watch this video are going to be on the opposite side and very strictly monogamous and very big skeptics of polyamory. So I'm just going to ask the question that probably some of those people might be wondering is, do you feel that your communication with your husband has grown stronger because of a slight fear of jealousy towards your girlfriend? Like you want to make sure 110% that your husband's still your husband and he's not going to stray off with your girlfriend?
I think at first, yeah, that jealousy does come to play. And that communication, I found throughout the years of having different types of relationships. We've had polyamorous relationships in the past. We've had sexual relationships in the past. I've had my own. He's had his own. We've had people together. But through all of the years of having an alternative lifestyle, at first that jealousy is absolutely based on fear. Because if he's doing something with someone else that I don't feel he's doing with me, at first I will feel like it's because he doesn't want to do it with me. Or what if she does it better than I do? Um, and so we have found that if I or he or another partner starts to have those feelings, we have to talk. And it's not that I just talk with him. I have to talk with her as well and say, hey, look, when you guys did this thing, whether it was he went to the store with her, but last week he didn't want to go to the store with me. Or, if it's a sexual thing, whatever it is, if I find myself being jealous, it's probably because I'm not getting that from him or I'm not getting that from her. So I have to let them know, hey, this made me feel upset and I'm going to need you to do this more with me. Or I don't like that. And this is a boundary.
Mm.
Do you feel that with her being present that she kind of gives you a little bit of comfort when it comes to communicating with him? Like maybe like a support when you talk to him about feelings and things that you're missing? Do you feel that she's like given you that support to be able to tell him those things and her those things as well?
I definitely feel when we talk together, definitely more supported because it I don't feel like I'm hiding something from either of them. Now, in the past, our previous polyamorous relationship before this one did not work out. And I feel that it was because we didn't have that together communication like you were just asking about. I would communicate with him, I would communicate with her, they would communicate, but hardly ever did we talk about our relationship as a whole.
Sure.
And sometimes I feel like there's things I can only talk with him about at the time. But then it always, once I've talked it over with him or with her individually, we always bring it back together to talk as a group and say, hey, earlier I was really upset because of this. He and I have talked and I just wanted you to know about it so you know what's going on.
That's awesome. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
So in your community, like you said, you are in it's a very small, guys, I've been there, a small Southern community with small Southern community belief systems. How has that worked for you? Because both of you are in prominent positions within your community as well. And you're raising a family and you have children and they go to school. So how has that affected you guys as well as the kids?
You know, before we've never actually had a relationship this close to home. Our other relationships have generally been sexual, so that there wasn't that relationship aspect, so there wasn't, a date or people seeing you together on a regular basis. Those were the only relationships we've had this close to home. Our other polyamorous relationships were an hour and a half to 3 hours away. And so we didn't have to worry about that. But before we even decided to be completely out recently, we had friends that did ask questions. And we were honest. And those friends were actually very accepting. Now, if I were to go to my church and say, hey, this is my husband and this is my fiance, and the three of us are having a baby, that would be a little bit different. But the people that we have told have generally had the idea of, whatever you do in your bedroom is your business, and it's none of mine. So, the general public doesn't necessarily know, but some of my coworkers know, some of my husband's coworkers know, family members know, and the ones who aren't necessarily supportive have generally had the mindset of what I don't know doesn't hurt me. And as long as your children aren't being hurt and everybody is consenting, it's none of my business.
And that shows how far we've come in our society, where we're able to have these conversations and move more into the lifestyles that suit us. One of the popular ways that people explain how a polyamorous relationship works so that everybody can understand is when you're young and your parents come to you and let's say you have 3 siblings. So there are a total of 4 of you, and your parents say, hey, guess what? We're pregnant. You're going to have a little sister. Well, you don't look at that and say, oh, sorry, I'm full out of love. I can't love another person. You are fully capable of loving more than one person. You love each of your siblings. You love each of your parents. Now, obviously, that's not always the case, but but you're capable of loving more than one person at the same time. And so why can't that be in our romantic relationships as well? And, people, they look at big families and they say, oh, how great to have a big family. You have all of this support and all of these people. Of course, we know that there are also problems that come with that. But again, through communication, you work those problems out, and it takes a village. So you have that big family and everybody's supporting one another in the ideal situation. And it's exactly the same thing with any scenario, whether it's polyamory or open relationships or any kind of abundant love that we're looking at. And I'm hoping that sharing this analogy is going to help people understand whether they like it or not, whether they want to participate in it or not, will help them understand better what it is. Because there's a definite what it is and what it isn't. And there are a lot of misconceptions out there about what it is. For example, are you selfish because you want to have more than one romantic relationship at a time? Does that make you selfish?
Who are you asking?
Whoever wants to answer.
Well, let's ask Suzanne. She's our guest.
I don't feel selfish because I want to have those relationships. I actually feel less selfish because of it. And it's not that I ever wanted to have another romantic relationship. It just, that kind of happened. Our journey through our lifestyle began by just, I was bisexual and my husband wanted to, experience a threesome. So it was a sexual thing. And then throughout the years, we had a sexual partner that we fell in love with. And I've always recognized that I am not capable mentally or physically of giving my husband everything that he needs. And I'm comfortable with him finding those things elsewhere as long as I am being included in those decisions and I am comfortable with that person. So as far as being selfish for wanting it, maybe, because I know that my husband can't give me everything that maybe I feel I want or need. But I also feel like I am giving something back to my relationship by finding out what it is that I need and what I'm getting from another person that he's not giving me, and then explaining to him what it is that I'm needing or what I'm wanting, and then he or whoever in the relationship can, I guess, fix that or attempt to give me that.
I think this is where the problem with people that are really struggling with even the thought of that, of sharing your sexual relationship with another person. I think this is really where they struggle. And this is just my opinion. And anybody who's watching that is strictly monogamous can completely correct me if I'm wrong, but is realizing that you might not be able to give your partner everything that they need sexually, emotionally, mentally, and feeling guilty about that. I strive personally in my relationship to give my husband everything he wants and vice versa. And we know we're not idiots. We know that there's things that we can't give them, and it makes us feel bad about ourselves, and I think that that's the struggle with people who really can't view this as something that they can really wrap their heads in, because if they were like, in a polyamorous relationship, and that's where the jealousy comes in, like our girlfriend or our boyfriend gives my significant other this thing, whatever it is, and I can't do that, so I'm insignificant, and that I'm jealous of that. And I think that that's really what they struggle with.
I think I would go back to what Angie was saying earlier about the siblings. If I choose as a mom to have another baby, it's not because my child or my children weren't enough for me. It's just because I needed that additional child. I wanted that additional child, whatever it is with me. I didn't feel complete. And it's not because I don't love my children enough, or as a single child, I don't love my single child enough and they're not enough for me. It's just that I feel I would be more fulfilled with more children. And I know it doesn't equate over exactly, but that's the best way I think I can describe it. And like you said, it does create some guilt. When we get into a new relationship, when one of us is like, hey, there's this person and I'm having these feelings, it does create some guilt. And then you do have to be very comfortable looking inside yourself to say, okay, if I'm not giving him this, whether it's sexual or emotional or whatever it is that something I could be doing better? Is this something that I could be giving him? And if it's not, then okay, yeah, go get it from somewhere else. If it is, then I do work harder on myself to try to fulfill that need in him, but it doesn't stop me from knowing that he might still have feelings for someone else.
No, I love that. It's unrealistic in my opinion, and I'm in a monogamous relationship. My husband and I, we have a monogamous relationship. We have not had conversations of the need to do that. Now, I'm 15 years older than he is. At any point in time, one of us could look at the other person and say, you know what, I've got this need that's not being fulfilled. Right now, we do have those conversations, and um, we are able to fulfill each other's needs when it comes to that. But in the future, it's very possible that we might not be able to, especially as I continue to get older. Now, of course, I'm a proponent for women my age, and we are very sexual beings and can continue being very sexual beings until the day that we die. Sex is something from the time that we're born until the day that we die, and it's a divine right that we have. So I am not saying that I will not be able to provide that for him as I get older. Okay, let me just preface with that. But if I were not, I mean, he's 28. That there's still so much room to grow and discover himself and his own needs. And we're a military family. What if we're separated for 6, 9, 12 months and somebody has some needs that they need, truly, seriously need to be dealt with? I'm open to that. That's just one of those things. I'm a very flexible person. And
Are you now?
I am a very so we always have to work the silly in somehow. I'm very flexible, and let me tell you, that can lead to good things and it can lead to bad things. And Suzanne is very aware of what I'm getting ready to talk about. And this is before I met my husband, and it's how I met my husband. Okay, so we're talking about this lovely, successful, amazing relationship here that Suzanne is having. But Suzanne, not all polyamorous relationships work, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
I personally was in
Just like monogamous
just like every
Yes.
relationship, friendships.
Yeah.
Any kind of relationship. So it's really important to know yourself and your partner, and it's really important to look at all aspects. And you can get pressured into something, or you can choose to not look at somebody's true ability to handle a situation and go into something without considering all of the factors. So for me, entering into a polyamorous relationship was a horrible idea, not for myself, but for the other person who I was already involved with. And he was the one who came to me and said, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what's going to make me happy. And I was more than happy to do that. Okay, I want you to be happy, and if this is what you want and what you need and what's going to make you happy, then let's go for it. Okay, what boundaries do we have, this and that. There was that communication and everything. But I also knew that this person had some depression and anxiety issues, and I did not deal with those well enough going into the relationship to have it be something that was sustainable. And he and I are no longer together because of it. I don't know. I have I have a very sneaking suspicion that that would have happened anyway. There were a lot of issues there. But yeah, but I definitely should not have went ahead and moved on into that relationship with that person. He was not a mentally healthy individual to be able to engage in that kind of a relationship, and that came out as soon as we started trying to have other relationships. And it was not pretty, and it was not a good, healthy way to do it. And so I think it's important that I bring that up now so everybody understands that we're not saying that everybody should be in a polyamorous relationship. Okay, that it is not for everybody. And there's so much involved. And my personal opinion is the communication and everything that happens is the same communication that should be happening in a monogamous relationship. In fact, it's the same communication that should be happening in a single relationship with yourself as an individual.
Yes, preach, girl. Preach, preach.
But unfortunately, we don't do that. You know, we don't have those conversations with ourselves. We don't have them with our partners.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
it does. It takes a lot of introspection to be able to, I think personally, sustain any relationship healthily. You know, I suffer from mental illness. I have anxiety and depression. My husband has been diagnosed with depression, and that comes from, you know, a lot of different things, just like with everyone. But throughout the years, in order to, even when we weren't having a sexual relationship with anyone else or a polyamorous relationship, just to keep our marriage going, we had to look inside of ourselves and realize I'm not a healthy wife right now because I'm not a healthy person. And we've had to fix a lot of things individually, even just to sustain our marriage together, much less having relationships with other people. And it does take a lot, and you have to be willing to have those courageous conversations with yourself and with other people in order for any relationship to be successful, and especially for a relationship to be successful with more than one person.
Right. And that's all about that emotional intelligence. And, you know, so the relationship that I was talking about, I had the emotional intelligence to be able to go through with it and to see that he did not. And I believe that I was very selfish in going ahead and honoring what he was asking me to do, knowing that he did not have the emotional intelligence to make that decision. So I should not have done that, but I did, and that was wrong, and it wasn't a good thing for anybody involved. And you have to, as an individual, have that emotional intelligence to be able to look within yourself and look really hard at the things that you don't like about yourself, the things that you would like to change about yourself, and the things that you don't want to change about yourself. You know, because you were talking, yes, your values, your boundaries. And, you know, Suzanne, you were talking earlier about, is that something that I can give to my husband, but I'm just not? And you know, we have the option to say, I can give this to you, but it's not something that's going to be fulfilling for me to do. And I'm more than happy for you to find that elsewhere so that you get fulfilled and I don't have to do something that I'm not comfortable with.
I think the easiest thing to explain that with, without getting into, you know, sexual stuff, my husband loves to play first-person shooter video games, like Call of Duty and stuff like that. My brain does not allow me to play those games. I cannot do it. I have tried for him. he loves it. Our fiance, she loves it. And so I can sit on the couch or I can sit on the chair and I can read a book or, you know, whatever I'm doing, and they can sit over and be playing a video game together, and I can hear them laughing and giggling and playing. And that makes me happy because that is something my brain physically cannot do that for him. You know, and he could get that from a friend as well, but that's something that we all enjoy doing together because I can see how happy it's making each of them. And in turn, that makes me happy.
I love it. That's a great analogy because that's so true. Wouldn't
I define that as true love, when somebody else's happiness makes you happy, and not just, you know, like you had said before, doing something that the other person likes and you don't like just to see them happy. No, it's when their happiness truly makes you happy. I think that that's a valid true love right there. True love. That's what, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's beautiful. And people can absolutely have that in monogamous relationships.
Mhm.
It's possible, and that's fine, and that's great. That's what works for
Mhm.
them. And for some other people, they need multiple people to fulfill their variety of needs. So something that I wrote yesterday was I posted a video in the group, and the first thing that he said, and this is Leon Feingold, and he talked about compersion, which is exactly what you were just talking about, is looking at somebody else's happiness and being happy for their happiness. And in that video, he explains it. He says, so somebody comes to you and they tell you that they just got engaged and they show you the ring and you get all excited and you get giddy and you're like, oh, I'm so excited for you. And they're like, I know, I'm so excited. And you're like, I'm so excited. And the excitement level and the happiness level just builds. And how beautiful is that to be able to look at your partner and say, I see how happy this person is making you, and I want that for you.
And it doesn't take away from like my husband being happy with her does not take away from his happiness with me.
Correct.
And I don't feel like I am being put second ever. You know, and even she has voiced before a couple of months ago, she said, you know, even though I technically am secondary, at the time we weren't quite to this point of, you know, almost completely equal in our relationship. She said, even though I'm technically secondary, I don't ever feel secondary to either one of you. Because like I said, his happiness with her does not take away from his happiness with me. We still go on dates individually. We still have sex on our own. We still take showers together by ourselves. You know, it doesn't take away from our relationship. It has added to our relationship. And again, like you said earlier, that's not for everybody, but that's how it has been for us.
That's beautiful.
Thing that you want, what is one message that you want everybody to know out there about polyamory? If you had to say one thing to kind of get the message across of at least being a little bit more accepted or a little bit more understood, not so hated on as sometimes I see that. Bye, Dad. Love you. Sorry, my bad. What is one thing that you want to say to kind of just get the message across about polyamory?
No.
I know that's deep.
It is. I think it's just like anything else. My beliefs and my practice of whatever I believe, as long as no one is being injured or hurt by that, and it's by consenting adults, it doesn't affect anyone else. And just because I don't believe the same way that you believe, or you don't agree with what I do in my relationship, that doesn't make me a bad person. And that doesn't give you the right to treat me differently or to judge me negatively. because we don't agree on the way that I live my life. When no one is being hurt, no one's being injured, and all parties are consenting and adults.
So with that said, and I completely agree with you, if you were, because a lot of things that I've heard from the complete opposing side is when children are involved. I think that is the main issue that people have when it comes to, like you said, hurting other people.
Right.
They view this, and their strong beliefs that they view that this is hurting children mentally and emotionally. And what are your views on that? Because you obviously have children and you have one coming on the way.
Yes. That was a concern for our families as well when we came out to them. I can tell you that my children have a very open view of what love is. And we've always, even before we had children, we knew that we would raise them to understand there are different varieties of love, whether it's interracial or bisexual or homosexual or transgender, or even just loving someone who is of a different religion. My children have a very deep love for our partner. She treats them as if they were her own children. And they ask, okay, well, is she staying here tonight? When is she coming home? I love her. I want to see her. And my children don't, obviously my children are not involved in any way, they don't know about our sexual relationships, as they shouldn't. But the only thing that my children understand is that they have an additional person in the house who loves them very deeply.
Do you
And
show affection to her in front of your kids? Do your husband or you do that?
yes, we do. And I think,
have they asked any question? I know that if I ask anything too personal, you can tell me shut the fuck up.
No, please. Ask what you want.
But
they
have
haven't specifically asked questions. We kind of headed that off once we got to the point where we were comfortable with having that affection, that kind of public affection. We talked with the children and we explained to them that, how mommy and daddy sometimes kiss, and so mommy and daddy sometimes hold hands. Maybe mommy and girlfriend are going to do that, or maybe daddy and girlfriend are going to do that. And they were like, okay. But we've also explained, when my son was 3 or 4 years old, he asked us what it meant to be gay. And we explained to him that, just like mommy and daddy love each other, sometimes a man and a man love each other, or sometimes a woman and a woman love each other. Sometimes kids have 2 daddies, sometimes they have 2 mommies, sometimes they have a dad and a mom and a new mom, or, we have explained to them that people love differently, and they just understand that we all love each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say that again, when this is a healthy relationship, the emotional intelligence of the children involved is going to be way different than somebody who has never seen anything like that, or somebody who is put into this little box, and this is what it means to be right, and this is what it means to be human, and this is what it means to be American, and you have this little tiny box that you're put in, just like somebody who has gay parents. And this is the same people who are going to be upset about polyamory are going to be upset about a gay family. Two men adopting a child, and they're going to say, well, that's not normal. Well, that child's world is going to be bigger and more open, and therefore more accepting. When they are not experiencing any harm or trauma from this, that's where things come in, and that's where things hurt people. And that doesn't matter your race, religion, sexual orientation, relationship type. Trauma happens all the time, especially in a lot of the most normal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
Definitely.
that's heavy. It's heavy stuff. I'm going to do this screen share really quickly, and let's real quick look at what it is and what it isn't, because we're going to have to get off of here pretty soon. But we do want to leave people with that kind of an opportunity to maybe form more questions if they don't quite understand. So let me share this screen.
You're absolutely beautiful, by the way, Suzanne, and AJ too.
Oh, thank
Right?
you.
Right? I agree. Inside and out.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so are you guys able to see that screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So I really like this little image of polyamory defined, what it is and what it isn't. So the relationship that I was talking about earlier, where I said it was not a great relationship, I will be very honest and say that it came on this side. Excuses, avoidance, control. There was a lot of control involved in that. And as emotionally intelligent as I am, and you can be a very, very, very intelligent, amazing person and still find yourself in a relationship that is controlling and ugly. And that is what happened. And I absolutely was manipulated and got into a very not healthy relationship. And just like a monogamous relationship or even a relationship with ourself as an individual can be over here full of excuses and avoidance and control, a polyamorous relationship can be that way as well. And that is not healthy. It is not safe, sane, and consensual. And it is not something that the three of us here would advocate.
Well, I think it's interesting that like you could take out the word polyamory and I think you could just put in a healthy relationship defined.
100%.
Like it doesn't matter if it's like you said, if it's your relationship with yourself or if it's a monogamous relationship, if it's a polyamorous relationship with 2 partners, 3 partners, however many, or if it's even just a friendship. A true healthy relationship has all of those things that are listed in red.
100%. Wouldn't you say we could change that to parenting?
Absolutely.
And I pointed to the screen as if people could see me do that. But I actually will go ahead and change this image and put it into the group. I will change polyamory to a healthy relationship defined, because that's a great point. And your relationship that you have now with your husband and your fiance and your children would fall into this category of love is love, commitment, communication, ethical, respectful, compassionate, considerate, appreciative, and I would even say consensual. I would add the word consensual, which I will do when I change the image a little bit. So, anybody have anything they want to add? We're coming up on 40 minutes, which means we've gone 10 minutes over. Oh my gosh.
I think I've asked all of the skeptical questions for all of the skeptics, and if anybody else has any more, go ahead. I am not a skeptic. I just figured I would play devil's advocate here.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and if anyone out there has any questions whatsoever about my specific relationship or polyamory in general, communication, anything at all, please just send me a message or get in touch with me some way through this group, and I would be happy to talk with you, answer any questions that you have.
Awesome.
I definitely encourage everybody to please get on and ask questions. If this is something that makes you uncomfortable, ask questions. Let's talk about it. Because just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's not a topic that can be discussed. In fact, the more uncomfortable it makes you, the more we should discuss it. Right?
Agree.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I love you guys. Suzanne, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
Love you guys. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.